Hello, this is Seth over at Woodstock Trading Company. We're happy to take a few moments to discuss with you today uranium glass. We have quite a number of beads that are uranium glass. What that means is that within the glass has been dissolved uranium oxide, which is used as a colorant. And the classic uranium glass, sometimes called canary glass, I would describe it as a slightly greenish yellow when it's not had anything else added to it. And I guess you'd call it kind of a Gatorade-y color or Mountain Dew type color. And this is the classic color that one refers to uranium glass. Sometimes it's referred to as Vaseline glass, which is not always correct because of its resemblance to Vaseline. This particular piece is a classic example of what one would call Vaseline glass, and it's almost a dead ringer for Vaseline. They come very often in these thick rods. This one was about the size of a nightstick, and this one has a little bit of cobalt in it, which gives it a little bit more of a green color, or it could be iron. And these thick rods are about 1 meter long, and if I want to work with them, I have to pop them into an oven at about 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I stick it in a torch and I draw it down into thinner rods like this one here, which is what I can work with. It's been used as a colorant actually for quite a long time. One of the first examples was a yellow tile found in a Roman mosaic from around 79 years of the Common Era, but it really took off, well, big time, really in the Middle Ages, when a big amount of this uranium was discovered in the Hallsberg silver mine in what was known at the time as Bohemia, which is now the Czech Republic. Some of our glass beads are old enough that they actually came from what was called Bohemia. These here are a classic example of Bohemian uranium glass. If you have any interest in these in particular, they're cataloged as the letter G for glass, 2396. It's particularly took off really from the 1880s through the 1920s and was used in what sometimes is referred to as depression glass. Also, other colorants can be added to either opacify it or change its color into what someone called jadeite, which this is a nice example. There's also custard glass, where it's been opacified and it resembles custard. And it's a very dramatic color. It really kind of fell out of favor just post-World War II, particularly in America, because all of the uranium was confiscated for the Manhattan Project. The biggest producer, at least when it was really popular, is an Austrian fellow, Franz Riedel, and that was in Bohemia, even though he was Austrian, and he referred to the color as Anna Gelb, which Anna, originally I thought we was referring to grass, because Anna is grass, and Gelb, German or Austrian as well, for yellow. And it's kind of a slightly greenish yellow in its pure form. And Anna, however, was actually in honor of Anna Maria, his daughter, not for grass. Now, the uranium people, of course, are curious if it, in fact, is radioactive. And, well, the answer is yes, it is slightly radioactive. Depending on how much uranium has been added, for a basic piece such as this, about 30 grams will give off 12 microrads per hour. So that's not very much, really. You probably get that from a routine chest x-ray, somewhere in that area. Also, it can be found in these antique marbles, and these were made by the billions probably, and these are antiques, and I actually took some of these and even melted them down, and I made glass beads from them. Now, one of the things in particular about uranium glass that makes it so extra special and why we love it so much, I figured I'll mention also, it can be found in glass granules, such as these here, which the glass workers refer to as frit, F-R-I-T, and you would take a gob of glass and you'd roll it in this granular glass, which is about the consistency of kosher salt, but it can be found in other grades as fine as flour or as thick as big chunks or pebbles, depending on how you order it. Now, what makes it extra special is that it fluoresces strongly in black light. That's how it's identified. Uranium glass glows very dramatically in black light. Even though it's not always this classic color, eventually you kind of develop an intuition to find uranium glass. You can sort of spot it, because sometimes if the glass hits a certain temperature, particularly these marbles, when I melted these marbles down, when they hit a certain temperature, the uranium oxide crystallizes and forms an off-white, which these beads here, even though they aren't yellow, do contain uranium. And I found out through the use of a black light, which we're going to demonstrate. Part of the fun of using uranium glass also is to be sneaky about it. Oh, here's one of the beads I made. Unfortunately, there's soot that got in this bead. This was those clear marbles. These very transparent, slightly greenish yellow marbles. There's a little bit of soot in there, unfortunately, because as I was making the bead, we ran out of oxygen, and a little bit of soot from the fuel, from the propane, got mixed in with the glass, but it gives it character. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut the lights, and we're going to show you what all of this looks like in a black light. Okay, here we go. Here are some examples of beads that we carry here in the store. I'm going to pick this phone up. Okay, now here are the marbles. Let me get rid of the marbles. Well, I'll show you the marbles. These are the marbles, and look how they glow dramatically in black light. These diamond-shaped beads, we carry these, and what's nice is they don't look very fluorescent, or they don't look like they contain uranium glass in regular lamplight. And this is G898, and these tiny little spacers which glow just dramatically, they are G2138. And these, which look like little snails, which we found out, because these are Czech glass, which is no surprise. So the Bohemians are still in the tradition of making Czech glass. We call them schnecken, which means snail. Sorry about the shake. And they said, oh, schneck, which also apparently not only in Yiddish means snail, but in schneck refers to snails in Czech. These are the chunks of glass that I work with, and you can see how dramatically they glow in black light. And the granules, they glow absolutely amazingly. in black light. And here are the thin rods that I work with, and I use them to make glass beads. And I'll show you an example of a sneaky glass bead. Let's see if I can prop that up. There we go. And in the glass bead are swirls of uranium glass. If I had a third hand, I'd turn the bead around. And then I mentioned this off-white beads that really don't look like uranium glass, but once you put a black light on them, you can see how dramatically they glow. And this is that bead I made from marbles, and you can see again how dramatically it glows in black light. And there are the antique marbles again. Also, here's another good example of sneaky uranium glass, because that bead on its own doesn't look like very much, but once you put the black light, there's another. Once you put the black light on it, they really glow. You can also get hard glass. These are all soft glass or soda lime glass, pieces of uranium glass. There's also borosilicate, where North Star Glass collaborated with Gaffer, who made this piece here on the end, and they made a borosilicate uranium glass. Then there's also borosilicate glass, though not, I don't believe containing uranium, not only glows in black light, but actually glows in the dark. You have to be careful, because if you work with this too much, it loses its ability to glow in black light. So we carry quite a bit of these different uranium glass beads, and the real fun is actually in making them, but that's another story. So if you want to check out some of our uranium glass beads, come by the store. In case I didn't mention the Bohemian glass beads, and these are old as can be, and they're absolutely gorgeous. Let's see if I can get a better glow from them. There, that's not bad. Is G1900 1900, and they're extraordinary and old, probably at least 100 years old, as they were made in what was Bohemia, is now the Czech Republic. So we took this time to show you off some of our cool stuff. And if you want to come in the store, bring a black light, or we have a black light, and we'll show you which of these are uranium containing glass beads. So you can make some really cool projects and surprise people when you go out, and as soon as it's exposed to a black light, you'll see this outrageous glow. Okay, thank you so very much.